Welcome back to the weekend. With Donald Trump's approval, unelected billionaire Elon Musk is taking a sledgehammer to the federal government. News reports that secrecy is becoming a defining trait of Musk's Doge. Another defining trait? Its trail of destruction. With sensitive government data compromised, life-saving humanitarian aid now paused, and thousands of federal jobs on the line. Since the chaos erupted, at least one Democrat ditched the Congressional Doge Caucus because of Musk's actions. And Democrats on the House Oversight Committee are now demanding transparency. Joining us now, Democratic Congressman Ro Khanna, who represents Silicon Valley in California. He's known Elon Musk for nearly 15 years and serves on the House Oversight Committee. Welcome, Congressman.
Congressman, thank you for being here. So NBC News has reporting that secrecy is becoming a defining trait of Elon Musk's Doge more than 2 weeks after Donald Trump signed a 660-word executive order that established Doge. Confusion about it persists. 3 fellow employees said that a lack of transparency about Doge exists at their agency. Another current employee who has been handling Doge requests says Musk's team is zeroing in on data. It is very focused on data. They want the data. Why do you think they want the data or the data?
Well, they want to unilaterally make decisions to stop payments that they think are wrong. And here's the thing. I was pretty reasonable about this. When Elon first was appointed to be head of Doge, I said if he has ideas for cuts in the Pentagon budget, he should come to Congress. In fact, I took some criticism from my own party, as did Senator Warren and Senator Bernie Sanders. But what I've said to him is, OK, if you actually have a spotlight of transparency, that you think that there is waste or fraud, then come to Congress and expose it. Don't do this in secrecy. And you don't get to make the decisions. It's Congress that gets to make the decisions. And that's where I think he has lost the plot and really has raised alarm, not just with Democrats, but a lot of independents and Republicans.
I just want to clarify something that happened this week. There was a procedural vote in the Oversight Committee about wanting to subpoena Musk. You had missed the vote. If they were to recall the vote with proper notice, would you vote to subpoena Musk?
Absolutely. And I made that clear. There were 8 of us who missed it. It was a quick vote. He needs to come before the committee. He should be subpoenaed. He should be explaining why he has taken any action to freeze the payments unilaterally, and also whether he's going to comply, most importantly, comply with the judge's decision that says that any of his employees should not have access to any of our sensitive information.
And just to be clear, in addition to using the power of Congress to subpoena him, you've personally messaged him and said, you should come. You should explain this. What was his response to you?
I don't know if I could say the response on air, but it was not a polite one. You could, I knew that when I put that tweet up saying that he should be subpoenaed and come, that it would get a reaction. And what he says is, well, I'm on this mission to cut the deficit. I want to expose the fraud. I didn't come here to give a report to Congress. But the reality is that Congress is the agency under Article 1 of the Constitution that gets to decide spending. And if he's that confident that he has fraud, waste, and abuse, then why not come to Congress and expose it to the American public?
Because it's all a lie. That's why he doesn't want to come, and that's why he doesn't want to spend the time, and that's why he's responding to you the way he did. He should be subpoenaed. He should have his behind brought up to the hill here and explain to us what he's doing. I mean, this is the point. These folks are acting with impunity. They're acting uber executive, right? And so the question that I consistently have in all of this is where is the fight here? Where is the sense of this is our domain? You're now treading on our domain, Elon Musk. You're in some made up agency. You don't even really exist. The thing you're doing is not real. Get your behind up here to Capitol Hill and tell us what you're doing. That's what I think a lot of Americans out there want to see and hear. My question is, why aren't we? Why don't Democrats push the limits the way the Republicans are pushing the limits right now?
Well, we are going to have the fight. I'll answer that question, but I want to make 2 points about why this isn't the right approach if you actually cared about deficit spending. You wouldn't start with U.S. aid that's less than 0.1% of the entire federal budget. You wouldn't start with the CFPB, which is less than 0.01% of the federal budget. You would start with things like the Pentagon that are over 50% of the budget, and yet that's not been the approach. Now, look, the Democrats are going to fight. I grant that the first 2 months after we lost with Vice President Harris, we were a bit shell-shocked. There wasn't the same unity. But the time that these Treasury payments were freezed, the time that they stopped that portal on Medicaid funding, something snapped in the American public and with Democrats. And we've been unified ever since. Hakeem Jeffries is a fighter, and here's where we're going to make the fight. The debt ceiling and the funding government, they're going to need Democratic votes. Chip Roy is not going to go vote for the debt ceiling. And Hakeem Jeffries and the Democratic caucus are going to be unified, not a single vote unless every dollar of Congress's appropriation and authorization is spent. And we have very much clarity that nothing is going to happen without the congressional branch. And we're going to win that fight.
You know, this point about needing Democratic votes for the budget fight and the funding fight, absolutely. But I have heard many of these caveats from Democrats up and down the board. And right now, the administration is thumbing their nose at you all. They are ignoring the fact that you all have appropriated dollars already. And so what assurances could you all possibly get that would make you feel comfortable to vote with Republicans to fund the government?
Well, right now, we've been saved by some of the judges' decisions who have put a pause on any effort to cut funding. But you're absolutely right that we can't just take the president's word for it on some ironclad agreement that they're going to spend it. One of the ideas floated is that there should be automatic triggered cuts if the president doesn't go along with it to Republican priorities. So there are ways that we can get that agreement. But people should know that the Congress has tremendous power. They're going to need the Democrats' votes on the debt ceiling. They're going to need the Democrats' votes on keeping government open. In the caucus meetings, there is a fierce resolve to make sure that we stand up for Congress's authority to appropriate money and for that to be spent. And it's a shame. It's a shame that we can't get three other Republicans to stand up for Congress's Article 1 priority, that we have to rely on Reagan-appointed judges and George Bush-appointed judges to do that, and you can't get three Republicans to go along and do that.
Joining me now, Lindsay Owens, Executive Director of Groundwork Collaborative. That's an economic policy think tank. And Lindsay, I'm glad you're here because I want to get your reaction to what we just heard the president say, which is that every investment made is a con job. Do comments like that, without presenting evidence, actually undermine his stated goal of curtailing government waste?
Yeah, look, President Trump is pushing out tons of misinformation about what organizations like USAID do. But I think Americans understand exactly what an organization like USAID does. And a lot of what it does is offer public health services around the globe. This is things like nutrition assistance, preventing diseases like cholera, malaria, tuberculosis, administering PEPFAR to help stop the spread of HIV/AIDS. The only thing that President Trump's attack on USAID is going to do is make millions of people around the globe sicker, and people are going to die from this reckless decision.
And look, USAID, that is just one of 13 agencies where DOGE has been spotted. The DOGE plan is to go from about 10,000 staffers to 611. The numbers that we've been given show 600 workers in Europe. The 600 there, they're going to be whittled down to 10. 12 will be dedicated to Africa, 8 to Asia. I mean, what's the likely impact of this and the likelihood of success for the union's lawsuit they've got going?
Yeah, look, DOGE is now everywhere in the federal government, and they are spreading like bed bugs. What we learned yesterday is that DOGE has now descended on the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. We also learned that Russ Vought, the architect of Project 2025, who is now sworn in as the top official at the department or at the Office of Management and Budget, is now running the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. And we've learned that Elon Musk is tweeting RIP CFPB. So Doge has their fingerprints everywhere in the federal government, and they are going after the stuff that matters the most to Americans. Attacking the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau means stopping a critical protection for Americans against financial scams. Since its founding, the CFPB has returned $21 billion to American families in relief. I mean, that's just an extraordinary amount of money. It's so important for Americans who've had to face predatory mortgages, who've had to face predatory debt collectors. I mean, that's really what the Doge effort is. This is not about government efficiency. This is about stopping protecting Americans, and it is about Elon Musk's pocketbook. One of the other things we know about what Musk is up to is he is gathering personally sensitive financial information about Americans and about his competitors at all of these agencies that he and his team are entering. And this has actually been one of the top subjects of the lawsuits that we're seeing against Doge today.
So for centuries, guys, elite billionaire types like Elon Musk and Donald Trump loved nights like tonight because they usually distract the people from them picking your pockets. That you're focused on the circus, the Super Bowl, that you're not looking at how they're ruining your life in a personal and material sense. But tonight, even as this happens, I'm able to bring you new information about how Elon and his people around him are monsters. And at least in one of these clips, I don't know if they say it in the clip themselves, but they do in the broader video it comes from. They compares them to bed bugs. One of the worst kind of bugs there are. When you think, oh, you have a spider in your room, you're like, oh, that's not great. Or you have a fly in your house, you're like, whatever, I'll get rid of it. But if you have bed bugs, like, that's code red. Like, I'm going to have to just, like, burn my house down and start again, right? And it just showcases that even on this night, where Trump and Elon they use these events to distract you. And you often see them in the crowds at these events to distract you. That people's eyes are on the prize. They see the damage Elon is doing, and they don't like it.